want to give you guys an example of using open loops here to create the sensation of wanting to ask you further questions. This is an example from Lior Suchard. He is a mentalist. And just pay attention in your own mind. How many questions are raised by the things that he says? What follow-ups might you ask? And how can you sort of copy his style in order to change your own answer to one that people want to know more about?
What is it you think you do?
Well, I describe it as using as my 5 senses to create the experience of more senses.
I would suggest here that the first question is, what would these other senses be? But allow him to continue.
I know how people think. I don't know what you're thinking. I know how you're thinking. And
based on what?
And you see there's a question that Lewis had right away. Based on what? How do you know what it is that, or how do you know the style that I'm thinking?
Based on principles of underground psychology, nonverbal communication, understanding how I know the process of thinking.
Now, notice he doesn't say a ton about it, but he uses some interesting buzzwords. Underground psychology. For me, that triggers me and go, wait a second, what do you mean underground psychology? What is this thing that I haven't heard of? Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to use his exact examples, but ask yourself, even if you do have a more mundane job, is there a way that you can present it that unveils that information a little bit more slowly so that people are intrigued enough to ask you follow-ups? I promise you, Lior has practiced these answers. He has seen the ones that hook people's attention. He's looking for that lean in, that look in their eye. So pay attention for that as you bring your answer out into the real world. Now, one pitfall that people sometimes fall into is they try to make what they're doing sound deep and amazing and hyper-connected to their deepest passion, which isn't necessarily wrong. Of course, we want to communicate that if that's the case. What I find is sometimes the issue is people haven't worked on their congruence. So they'll use words like inspire, just live a life full of love, but they'll do it in a rather flat manner, which can make it come across as inauthentic. And I want to show you an example of that. This is, I believe her name is Rebecca Newman. I actually watched a lot of this interview, and she strikes me through her behavior and her actions as absolutely earnest in what she's doing, but look at the way that she communicates it. There's something lacking. She's using words that do not match the tonality and her connectedness in the moment that she's saying them, which makes her unfortunately come across a bit inauthentic in this moment.
And what is the mission of We Grow, just so I understand clearly?
The mission of We Grow, and quite honestly the collective we that we're all living under, is to elevate the world's consciousness. That we grow specifically through unleashing every human's superpowers and expanding happiness.
Okay. And we grow.
And you can see right there, Lewis is kind of thrown off. Okay, expanding happiness. You don't necessarily seem particularly happy or at least connected to it in this moment. And that can happen when we memorize these things. They become sort of mission statements that we repeat without connecting to in the moment. So just a suggestion is, if you're going to go this route and you're not necessarily going to be playful in this moment and you are going to connect to a deeper purpose, you need to find a way to really tap into that feeling of what it is that makes you happy about this, or what it is that you love, or why this is your purpose. Otherwise, it can come across extremely flat and a bit confusing to people who are paying attention.